You're too old to travel with us. Stay home. My daughter-in-law said it loud enough for half the airport to hear. I was standing at Gate G94, San Francisco International, holding a boarding pass I'd never use. My son Derek stood next to her, staring at the floor. My grandchildren, Emma and Jake, wouldn't look at me. It was 7:35 in the morning. Our flight to London left in less than 2 hours. I'd paid $450,000 for this trip. 3 weeks in Europe, 7 countries, everything first class. The journey my late wife Helen always dreamed about. Just go home, Patrick, Vanessa said. We'll send pictures. Derek didn't say a word. He just picked up his carry-on and walked toward the gate. He never looked back. I stood there alone while my family boarded a plane I'd paid for. Other passengers stared. A gate agent asked if I needed help. I said no. Then I walked outside, got in an Uber, and made one phone call. Within an hour, their trip was over. That's when I found out what they'd really been planning. The court documents they'd filed 6 months ago. The fake psychiatric evaluation claiming I had a dementia. The offshore accounts. The contract to sell my house while I was supposed to be locked in a nursing home. They didn't just want my money. They wanted to erase me. My name is Patrick O'Donnell. I'm 68. I spent 42 years as an aerospace engineer at Boeing, building systems that don't fail. When my own son tried to take everything I'd built, I used that same precision to protect myself. This isn't a story about getting even. It's about what happens when someone mistakes your silence for weakness. If you've ever been treated like a burden by people who should love you, this one's for you. I'm not going to tell you to hit subscribe. You'll decide that on your own. But I will say this. By the end, you'll know exactly what to do the next time someone tries to make you invisible. Because that hour at the airport, that was just the beginning. And I wasn't the one who lost. Let me back up 3 months. It was October. The leaves were turning in Palo Alto, and I was sitting alone in the house Helen and I bought in 1994. 4 bedrooms, too big for one person, full of furniture we picked out together. I'd been retired from Boeing for 3 years, spent 42 years as an aerospace engineer, specializing in flight control systems for the 777 and 787. Good career. Solid pension of $9,200 a month, plus a 401k I'd built up to $1.8 million. Helen and I were supposed to travel when we retired. That was the plan. But Alzheimer's doesn't care about plans. After she died, I kept thinking about that promise. Keep the family together. Derek was my only child. He had 2 kids, Emma, 12, and Jake. 9. Smart kids. Good kids. I barely saw them. Maybe birthdays, maybe Christmas, if Vanessa felt like making the drive from San Jose. Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, an Instagram influencer with 47,000 followers who posted pictures of luxury vacations I later learned they couldn't actually afford. Derek worked as a marketing director at some tech startup called Venture Wave Analytics, made about $185,000 a year, which sounds good until you realize they were $178,000 in credit card debt. I didn't know that in October. What I knew was that I was lonely, and I had money. Helen's trust fund had left me well provided for, and I wanted to do something meaningful with it before I died. So I called luxury travel company and booked their European Heritage Journey package. 21 days, 7 countries, customized itinerary, $450,000, paid in full on February 15th. Then I called Derek. Hey, Dad. His voice had that distracted quality, like he was reading emails while we talked. I'm planning a family trip, I said. Europe. 3 weeks. I'd like you and Vanessa and the kids to come with me. My treat. Silence. Then, Europe? Dad, we'd have to check our schedules. Vanessa's got some brand partnerships coming up. All expenses paid, I said. Flights, hotels, everything. I just want to spend time with my grandchildren. With you. Another pause. Let me talk to Vanessa. He called back 2 days later. Vanessa had done the math. $450,000 for 6 people meant 75,000 per person, and suddenly the brand partnerships could wait. They were in. Over the next 3 months, I watched them get excited about the trip in ways that had nothing to do with me. Vanessa posted Europe countdown stories on Instagram. Derek researched restaurants in Paris. Emma practiced French phrases. Jake made a list of gelato flavors to try in Rome. Nobody asked how I could afford it. Nobody asked if I was excited. Nobody invited me to the planning conversations. I should have known. They never asked how I was doing after Helen died either. They just asked when the house would be sold, how the estate was being distributed, whether there was anything they needed to know about the trust. But I told myself it was fine. Once we were on the trip, things would be different. We'd have 3 weeks together. We'd build memories. We'd become a family again. I was wrong. January 7th, 6:15 in the morning. I picked them up from their house in San Jose. Rented a minivan because I wanted us to drive to the airport together, like a real family trip. Derek loaded the luggage while Vanessa checked her reflection in the side mirror. Emma and Jake climbed into the back seats, earbuds already in. The drive to SFO took 40 minutes. Nobody talked. Derek scrolled through his phone. Vanessa did her makeup. I tried to ask Jake about school, but he just mumbled fine and went back to his game. We parked at 7. International departures. The terminal was crowded. Families saying goodbye, business travelers grabbing coffee, that electric buzz of people about to go somewhere. I felt it too. Despite everything, I was excited. This was happening. Security line took 20 minutes. I moved slower than they did. 68-year-old knees don't love standing in line, but I kept up. Got through TSA fine. We walked toward Gate G94, Terminal G. Our flight to London Heathrow was scheduled for 9:30. We had time. At 7:25, we reached the gate. Vanessa immediately went to the window to take photos of the plane for Instagram. Derek sat down and opened his laptop. The kids asked for money for Starbucks. I sat down next to Derek. Excited? I asked. Yeah, Dad. Should be great. He didn't look up. I'm really glad we're doing this, I said. Your mom would have loved... Patrick? Vanessa was standing in front of me. Her arms were crossed. Derek had closed his laptop. We need to talk, she said. The boarding announcement hadn't even happened yet. Around us, other passengers were settling in, reading, watching the plane's taxi. Normal pre-flight energy. Vanessa glanced at Derek. He looked away. This isn't going to work, she said. What isn't? You, coming with us. She said it like she was explaining something obvious to a child. You're too slow, Patrick. At security, you held up the whole line. Walking here, we had to keep stopping. 21 days of that? The kids have been looking forward to this trip for months. We can't have you ruining it. I looked at Derek. Son? He stared at his shoes. It's better this way, Vanessa continued. You should go home, rest. We'll send you pictures. The kids will tell you all about it when we get back. Emma and Jake were standing 10 feet away, holding their Starbucks cups, looking at the ground. They wouldn't meet my eyes. I paid for this trip, I said quietly. We know, and we appreciate it. We really do. But you're 68 years old. You can barely keep up in an airport. What happens when we're trying to catch trains in Paris? When we're climbing stairs in Rome? You'll slow us down. You'll complain. You'll need to rest every 2 hours. She softened her voice, like that made it better. This is for the best, for everyone. Derek, I said. My son finally looked at me. For just a second, I saw something in his face. Shame, maybe. Guilt. But then Vanessa put her hand on his shoulder, and whatever I'd seen disappeared. Dad, he said, maybe she's right. Maybe you should sit this one out. The boarding announcement crackled through the speakers. First class and business passengers, please begin boarding. Vanessa picked up her carry-on. Come on, guys, let's get settled. Emma and Jake followed her toward the gate. Derek hesitated, then grabbed his bag. I sat there, holding a boarding pass I would never use. My son didn't even look at me when his wife said it. I don't remember walking out of the terminal. 1 minute I was sitting at Gate G94, watching my family board a plane I'd paid for. The next minute I was outside, standing at the rideshare pickup area, watching cars circle past. The fog was rolling in off the bay, cold for January. I pulled out my phone and ordered an Uber. Then I stood there, breathing, trying to understand what had just happened. They thought I was weak, slow, a burden. They took my money and threw me away like I was damaged luggage. The Uber pulled up, a Toyota Camry. Driver named Luis. He was probably 50, friendly with a smile, asked me how my morning was going. I said fine, gave him my address in Palo Alto, and sat back. He tried to make conversation for the first 10 minutes. Asked if I'd been traveling. I said no. Asked if I had family in the area. I said yes. After that, he stopped trying. We were on 101 South when I pulled up the confirmation email from Luxury Travel Company. Booking number LTC 38291, $450,000, paid in full. Departure January 7th, 9:30 a.m. I tapped the customer service number. 3 rings. Luxury Travel Company, this is Barbara speaking. How may I provide you with exceptional service today? My name is Patrick O'Donnell, I said. Booking number LTC 38291. I need to cancel. Pause. I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. O'Donnell. May I ask the reason for cancellation? Family emergency. I understand. Let me pull up your reservation. Keyboard clicking. Oh my. This is our European Heritage Journey package. Departure is this morning. In fact, your flight should be boarding right now. It is, I said. Mr. O'Donnell, I need to inform you that our cancellation policy for same-day departures includes a 15% processing fee. You'd receive a refund of $382,500. The $67,500 fee is non-negotiable. That's fine. Are you certain? This is a significant... I'm certain. Cancel it. More clicking. Then processed. You'll receive confirmation via email within 5 minutes, and the refund will be deposited to your account within 5 to 7 business days. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No. Thank you, Barbara. I hung up. Luis caught my eye in the rearview mirror. Everything okay back there? Fine, I said. We drove in silence for another 10 minutes. Then my phone started ringing. Derek. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Vanessa. Voicemail. Again. Derek. Again. Vanessa. Luis cleared his throat. Sounds like somebody really wants to talk to you. They'll leave a message, I said. We were pulling into my neighborhood when the 5th call came through. I answered. Dad! Derek's voice was sharp, panicked. What the hell did you do? I canceled the trip. You can't. We're at the gate. They're saying our boarding passes are invalid. That's correct. Dad, this isn't funny. There are 200 people watching security escort us away from the gate. Vanessa is... I heard her in the background screaming at someone. Emma was crying. You can go home now, I said. Rest. I'll send you pictures. You spiteful old... I hung up. Luis pulled into my driveway. The house looked exactly like it had when I'd left 2 hours ago. Quiet. Empty. Waiting. That sounded intense, Luis said. I handed him a $50 tip. They'll be fine. Inside, I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Helen and I used to plan our own trips that we never got to take, where Derek used to do his homework in high school, where I'd sat alone for 3 years, eating dinner by myself, waiting for phone calls that rarely came. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. You just humiliated us in front of everyone. I will never forgive you for this. I set the phone down. Then I picked it up again and dialed a different number. Delacroix Law Offices. How may I direct your call? Margaret Delacroix, please. Tell her it's Patrick O'Donnell. She'll want to take this call. Vanessa's scream echoed through Terminal G. I was already halfway home. Margaret Delacroix arrived at my house at 10:30. She'd been Helen's attorney for the trust paperwork, back when we were planning for Alzheimer's care. After Helen died, Margaret became the trustee of what we'd started calling Helen's Trust. $2.3 million in investments, with Derek as the sole beneficiary. She was 62, sharp as a blade, with gray hair she kept in a practical bob. She walked in carrying a leather briefcase that I'd learned to associate with either very good news or very bad news. Patrick. She set the briefcase on my kitchen table. When you called, you said you needed to talk about Derek. What happened? I told her about the airport, about Vanessa, about Derek standing there silent, while his wife told me I was too old and too slow to go on a trip I'd paid for. Margaret didn't interrupt. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "There's something you need to know," she said. "I've been trying to reach you for 2 weeks. Your mailbox was full, and you weren't answering emails. I was busy planning the trip. Patrick." She opened the briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "Derek filed a petition for guardianship 6 months ago." The coffee in my stomach turned cold. "What?" She spread papers across the table. Official letterhead. Superior Court of California, County of Santa Clara. Case number 24PR012839. Petition for appointment of guardian of the person and estate. Filed September 18th, 2025 by Derek Michael O'Donnell. "I don't understand," I said. "Your son is trying to have you declared incompetent. He's claiming you have cognitive decline, that you can't manage your own finances or health decisions. He wants legal authority over everything. Your bank accounts, your medical care, where you live." I stared at the documents. I didn't know about this. "That's because his attorney filed the initial paperwork with an incorrect address. Your old apartment in Seattle from 15 years ago. The court notices never reached you. I only found out because I'm the trustee of Helen's trust, and California law requires notification of any legal action that might affect trust beneficiaries. When's the hearing?" "March 12th, 9 weeks from now." She pulled out another document. "This is the preliminary psychiatric evaluation. Do you know a Dr. Harold Kemper? Never heard of him. He's the psychiatrist who examined you." "I've never been examined by a psychiatrist." Margaret's jaw tightened. "According to this report, Dr. Kemper met with you on November 3rd at your home. He notes moderate cognitive decline, difficulty with recent memory, confusion about financial matters, inability to manage complex decisions. His recommendation is that you require full guardianship." "Margaret, I've never met this man." "I know." She pulled out her laptop. "Because Dr. Kemper went to college with Vanessa, University of Oregon, class of 2009. They're Facebook friends. He's commented on 63 of her Instagram posts in the last year." The pieces were clicking into place, sharp and ugly. "They fabricated a medical evaluation." "That's my assessment, yes. And if this goes through, Patrick, you'll lose everything. Legal guardianship means Derek controls your finances. He can sell your house, empty your accounts, put you in a nursing facility. You won't be able to contest it. You won't even be able to hire an attorney without his permission." I thought about Vanessa at the airport. "You're 68 years old. You can barely keep up." Setting the narrative, making sure anyone who heard about this would think, well, maybe he really is declining. What can we do? We fight it. I'll file a motion to dismiss based on fraudulent medical evidence. "But Patrick," she looked at me carefully, "there's more. Do you have a joint checking account with Derek?" "Yes, we opened it 10 years ago. It was supposed to be for emergencies. If I ever needed help with bills or..." "Why?" She turned her laptop toward me. "Bank statement. Wells Fargo. Joint account ending in 8362. On January 3rd, $75,000 was transferred out of this account to an offshore bank, Caledonia Banking Limited, Grand Cayman Islands." I felt the floor tilt. I didn't authorize that." "I know. Derek has signatory authority on the joint account. He doesn't need your permission." She pulled up another screen. "I have a contact at Wells Fargo who flagged this as potential elder financial abuse. The timing is suspicious. 4 days before your trip, right after you paid luxury travel company $450,000. My guess? Derek thought you wouldn't notice until you were in Europe. And once the guardianship went through, he could claim it was transferred for your protection. $75,000. Just gone. Can we get it back?" California Welfare and Institutions Code, Section 15610.30. Elder financial abuse. If we can prove Derek took the money without your knowledge or consent, and that he did so with intent to defraud, yes, we can freeze the account, demand return of funds, and... She paused. "And we can activate the respect clause." I'd almost forgotten about that. When Helen set up her trust, she'd insisted on one specific provision, 07.3. If any beneficiary engaged in elder abuse, financial, physical, emotional, The trustee had the authority to suspend or terminate their benefits indefinitely. You want to cut Derek off. I want to protect you, Margaret said, and I want to make it very clear that there are consequences for what he's done. If I activate Clause 7.3, Derek loses access to the trust. All 2.3 million. It gets held in suspension until we resolve the guardianship petition and the financial abuse investigation. He'll lose his mind. Good. Let him. She started packing up her laptop. I'm going to need you to file a report with the Elder Abuse Hotline. The number is 1-800-512-20. Tell them everything. The joint account, the offshore transfer, the fake psychiatric evaluation, the guardianship petition. They'll open an investigation with Adult Protective Services. Wells Fargo will freeze the account immediately. How long will this take? The freeze? 24 hours. Getting your money back? Could be weeks. Fighting the guardianship? Months. But Patrick, she looked at me, you need to understand what you're up against. Derek isn't just trying to take your money. He's trying to erase you, legally, permanently. I thought about Derek at the airport, unable to meet my eyes. I thought about Emma and Jake standing there with their Starbucks, watching their grandfather get discarded. Do it, I said. Activate the clause. Freeze the account. File everything. Margaret nodded. I'll have the paperwork ready by this afternoon. Derek will receive notification by email within 2 hours. Good. She stood. Patrick, I need to ask. Are you okay? This is a lot to process. I looked at the guardianship petition on my table, the fake doctor's report, the bank statement showing $75,000 stolen. I'm not the one who should be worried, I said. They didn't just want my money. They wanted to erase me legally. At 2 o'clock that afternoon, I was on the phone with California's Elder Abuse Hotline when Margaret sent me a text. Clause activated. Email sent to Derek at 1:47 p.m. Prepare for incoming. The woman on the hotline, her name was Patricia, she had a kind voice that reminded me of Helen's sister, was taking down my information with careful precision. And you're certain you didn't authorize the transfer to the Cayman account? I didn't even know it existed until this morning. Mr. O'Donnell, based on what you've described, this appears to be financial elder abuse under California Welfare Code Section 15610.30. I'm flagging this for immediate investigation. You should receive contact from Adult Protective Services within 48 hours. In the meantime, I'm putting an alert on your Social Security number and recommending an immediate freeze on the joint account. Do you have the account number? I read it to her. Wells Fargo, ending in 8362. Got it. They'll receive our notification within the hour. Is there anything else you're concerned about? Any other accounts your son has access to? No, just that one. Good. Mr. O'Donnell, you did the right thing calling us. A lot of people don't realize when they're being victimized by family members. It takes courage to report this. I didn't feel courageous. I felt tired. We hung up at 2:20. By 2:30, my phone was ringing. Derek. I let it go to voicemail. Listened to the message. Dad, what the hell did you just do? I got an email from Margaret Delacroix saying the trust is suspended. Call me back, now. I deleted it. 2:35. Vanessa. Voicemail. Patrick, I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but you need to fix this immediately. That trust money is Derek's inheritance. Helen left it to him. You can't just take it away because your feelings got hurt. I deleted that one too. 2:40. Derek again. Voicemail. Dad, please. I'm sorry about the airport. Vanessa was stressed. She didn't mean it. We can talk about this. Just call Margaret and tell her to unlock the trust. Please. The please almost got me. Almost. I made myself a sandwich instead, sat at the table, ate slowly. 2:55. My phone rang again. Different number. I answered. Mr. O'Donnell, this is Teresa Kim from Wells Fargo Fraud Prevention. We've received notification from California Adult Protective Services regarding account 8362. We've frozen all activity on this account as of 2:40 p.m. today. You should have received a confirmation email. I did, thank you. I need to inform you that we're also initiating a wire recall on the $75,000 transfer made on January 3rd. International wire recalls can take 14 to 30 business days, and there's no guarantee of success. But given the circumstances and the APS flag, we're treating this as priority. What are the chances of getting it back? If the receiving bank cooperates, 70%. Caledonia Banking has been on our watch list for suspicious activity. They may not want the attention. Thank you, Teresa. One more thing, Mr. O'Donnell. The account shows 17 attempted transactions in the last 40 minutes. All declined due to the freeze. Someone is trying very hard to move money. Derek, panicking. Can you tell me how much he was trying to move? The attempts ranged from $5,000 to $42,000, all to the same Cayman account. He was trying to hide everything he could before I could stop him. Thank you for the information. I hung up, looked at my phone. 32 missed calls, 14 voicemails. I blocked Derek's number, blocked Vanessa's number. Then I sat in the quiet of my kitchen and felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Control. At 4:15, Margaret called. How are you holding up? Better than Derek, I suspect. I've been getting emails from his attorney, 3 of them in the last hour. The language is aggressive. They're threatening to sue me personally for breach of fiduciary duty. Can they do that? They can try. They'll lose. The respect clause is ironclad, and I have documented evidence of financial abuse and fraudulent medical records. But Patrick, I need you to be prepared. This is going to get uglier before it gets better. I'm prepared. There's something else. I did some digging into Derek's finances. The credit card debt I mentioned, it's worse than I thought. $178,000 across 6 cards. Interest rates between 19 and 29%. He's been making minimum payments for 18 months. Jesus. Most of it is cryptocurrency investments. He bought heavily in late 2022, right before the market crashed. Lost about $230,000. He's been trying to make it back ever since. And he thought my trust money would fix it. That's my assessment. The guardianship petition was filed 1 month after his 3rd credit card went into collections. This isn't about your health, Patrick. It's about his debt. I thought about the offshore account. $75,000 vanished. He already spent some of my money on crypto. Almost certainly, which means even if we get that $75,000 back, there's a good chance it's already gone. The doorbell rang. Margaret, someone's here. Don't answer it. Why? Because Derek knows where you live, and he just lost access to $2.3 million. I don't think he's in a rational state of mind right now. The doorbell rang again, then pounding on the door. Dad, I know you're in there. Open the door. Derek's voice, loud, angry. Patrick, I'm calling the police. No, let me talk to him. Absolutely not. You don't... Margaret, I'm not afraid of my son. I hung up, walked to the front door, opened it. Derek was standing on my porch, red-faced, sweating despite the January cold. Vanessa was behind him, arms crossed, eyes furious. Inside, I said. They followed me to the living room. Nobody sat. You can't do this, Derek said. That trust, Mom left it to me. It's mine. Your mother left it in trust, I corrected, with conditions. One of those conditions was that you treat me with basic human dignity. You violated that condition. We didn't violate anything. We just didn't want you slowing us down on vacation. You told me I was too old, too slow, a burden. You took my money and tried to leave me at the airport like I was trash. Dad, that's not... And then I found out about the guardianship petition. Derek's face went white. The what? Vanessa said. Oh, she didn't know. Your husband filed legal paperwork 6 months ago trying to have me declared mentally incompetent. He hired a psychiatrist to write a fake evaluation. He was going to take control of everything I own. My house, my accounts, my medical decisions. He was going to put me in a nursing home. Vanessa turned to Derek. You didn't tell me about that. It wasn't. I was just... And 4 days ago, I continued, he transferred $75,000 from our joint account to a bank in the Cayman Islands, without my knowledge or permission. That's ours, Derek shouted. That account is joint. I had every right to... You had signatory authority, not ownership. And Adult Protective Services agrees with me. The account is frozen. The money is being recalled. And you're being investigated for elder financial abuse. Derek stepped toward me. You vindictive old bastard! Get out of my house. This isn't over. I'll fight the trust suspension. I'll fight the guardianship dismissal. You'll lose, I said quietly, because I have evidence. Margaret has evidence. The state of California has evidence. And every time you open your mouth, you give me more. Vanessa grabbed Derek's arm. Come on, we're leaving. At the door, Derek turned back. I hope you're happy, Dad. You just destroyed your own family. No, son, I said. You did that when you decided I was worth more dead than alive. I closed the door. Derek called me 17 times that afternoon. I didn't answer once. For 3 days, I didn't hear from Derek. No calls, no texts, no emails threatening legal action, just silence. I should have known better. On January 10th, 4 days after the airport disaster, I had a meeting with Lawrence Hartman. Margaret had hired him, a private investigator specializing in financial fraud. 55 years old, former FBI white-collar crime division, now running his own firm out of Redwood City. He came to my house at 10 in the morning, carrying a laptop and a folder that looked even thicker than Margaret's. Mr. O'Donnell. His handshake was firm. I've spent the last 72 hours looking into your son's financial activities. What I found is concerning. We sat at the kitchen table. Margaret briefed me on the basics, he continued. The guardianship petition, the offshore transfer, the credit card debt. I went deeper. He opened the laptop, pulled up a spreadsheet. Derek's been moving money aggressively for the last 6 months. Small transfers, frequent, designed to avoid triggering bank alerts. He's been pulling from the joint account in increments of $3,000 to $5,000. Over time, it adds up. How much? Besides the $75,000 to Cayman, another $38,000 in test transfers to various cryptocurrency exchanges. Most of those investments are now worth about $6,000 total. He lost $32,000 of your money gambling on digital coins. My stomach turned. There's more, Lawrence said. On January 8th, 2 days after the airport incident, Derek signed a preliminary purchase agreement with a real estate investment group called Pinnacle Equity Group. Purchase agreement for what? This house. I stared at him. Your house, the one we're sitting in right now. According to this agreement, if Derek is granted guardianship, he has the authority to sell this property as your legal guardian. Pinnacle offered $720,000 for a house currently valued at $890,000. That's 19% below market. Quick close, 30 days, cash offer. He can't sell my house. I'm not incompetent. Not yet. But if the guardianship petition had gone through, if you hadn't found out about it, he would have had that authority by April. And according to this agreement, the sale would close in May. You'd be out of this house by June. Where did he think I would go? Lawrence flipped through the folder, pulled out a brochure. Sunnyvale Care Facility, basic nursing home in Sunnyvale, California. $1,850 a month for a shared room. I called them. They have a bed available. Derek inquired about it on December 20th. December. A month before the trip. Before the airport. He'd been planning this for that long. Did he tell them why? He said his father had advanced Alzheimer's and could no longer live independently. Helen died of Alzheimer's. I watched it destroy her for 3 years. Derek told a nursing home I had the same disease. My hands were shaking. Mr. O'Donnell, I need to show you one more thing. Lawrence pulled up a document, legal letterhead. This is a draft petition for a grandparent visitation restriction order, California Family Code Section 3104. It was prepared by Derek's attorney on January 6th, the day before your trip. What is that? If Derek obtained guardianship over you, this order would legally restrict your access to Emma and Jake. The reasoning cited here is that your declining mental state and emotional instability could cause psychological harm to the children. If this were approved, you wouldn't be allowed to see your own grandchildren without Derek's supervision. I couldn't breathe. He was going to take everything, the house, the money, the kids, my entire life. Yes. Why? What did I do to him? Lawrence closed the laptop. Mr. O'Donnell, I've investigated a lot of financial elder abuse cases. Usually it's about money, pure and simple. Greedy kids who can't wait for their parents to die naturally. But sometimes, he paused, sometimes it's about control. Your son is drowning in debt. His marriage is built on an Instagram fantasy that he can't afford. He's facing financial ruin, and he blames you. For what? For being stable, for having money, for representing everything he's failed to achieve. Taking your assets wouldn't just solve his money problems. It would punish you for being successful while he's failing. I thought about Derek at the airport, how he couldn't look at me, how he let Vanessa speak for him. What do I do? We fight. Margaret's already filed motions to dismiss the guardianship petition. The fake psychiatric evaluation won't hold up. But Mr. O'Donnell, you need to understand. Derek isn't going to stop. He's desperate. Desperate people are dangerous. You think he'll come after me? I think you should be careful. Change your locks. Don't meet with him alone. Keep records of every interaction, and Lawrence pulled out a small device. Consider carrying this. It's a digital voice recorder. Philips DVT-2810. If Derek or Vanessa contact you, record the conversation. California is a two-party consent state, which means you need to tell them they're being recorded. But once you do, anything they say is admissible in court. I took the recorder. There's one more option, Lawrence said carefully. It's risky, but it could end this fast. What option? We set up a conversation. You tell Derek you want to talk, that you're reconsidering the trust suspension. You record the whole thing legally with full disclosure, and you let him talk. Desperate people say stupid things. If Derek admits to the guardianship scheme, the fake doctor, the planned house sale, any of it, we have him. Complete confession. Game over. That's a trap. It's an opportunity for the truth. I looked at the voice recorder in my hand, thought about Derek's voice on the phone, angry and desperate. I thought about Emma and Jake, who hadn't called me, who maybe didn't even know what their father was planning. Set it up, I said. They weren't just stealing my money. They were erasing me from my grandchildren's lives. On January 13th, I called Derek. He answered on the first ring. Dad? I want to talk, I said. My voice was quiet, maybe a little shaky. I'd practiced this. About everything. Can you come to the house? Silence. Then, why? So you can ambush me again? No ambush. I've been thinking. About the airport. About the trust. I might have overreacted. I could hear him breathing. What do you mean, overreacted? I was hurt. Angry. Maybe I didn't think it through. You're my son, Derek. You're all I have left. I don't want to spend whatever time I have left fighting with you. Dad, his voice softened. I don't want to fight either. And then come over. Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock. Just you and me. We'll talk. What about Margaret? The trust suspension? I'll talk to her. If we can work this out between us, I think she'll listen. Another pause. Vanessa should come too. No, just you, father and son, the way it should be. I could hear him calculating, weighing options. Okay, he said finally. Wednesday, 11. Thank you, Derek. I hung up, looked at Lawrence, who was sitting across from me at the kitchen table. You're good at this, he said. I don't feel good about it. You shouldn't, but it's necessary. Margaret arrived an hour later. She'd brought the digital recorder Lawrence had given me, plus a lapel microphone and a small camera that looked like a pen. California law is very specific about recording, she said. You must inform all parties that they're being recorded. You can't hide it. The moment Derek walks in that door, you tell him. Clear, explicit disclosure. What if he refuses to talk? Then we don't get the confession. But if he agrees, everything he says is admissible. And Patrick, she looked at me seriously. Don't try to trick him. Don't lie. Just ask questions and let him talk. That's all you need to do. What kind of questions? Why did he file for guardianship? Why did he transfer the money? What was he planning to do with your house? Where did he think you'd end up? She ticked them off on her fingers. But most importantly, does he regret it? Is he sorry? Or does he still think he was justified? What if he's sorry? Margaret and Lawrence exchanged a look. Then you have a choice to make, Margaret said quietly. But Patrick, I've been doing this for 30 years. People who commit this kind of calculated fraud don't suddenly develop consciences when they get caught. They develop excuses. Wednesday morning, I woke up at 6, made coffee, sat at the table, and tried to remember the last time Derek and I had a real conversation. Not about logistics or money or Helen's funeral arrangements, but just talked. Father and son. I couldn't remember. At 10:30, I set up the voice recorder on the table. Big, obvious, black digital device with a red recording light. No hiding it. At 10:45, I heard a car in the driveway. Derek knocked on the door. I opened it. He looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled shirt, dark circles under his eyes. He'd lost weight. Dad, come in, son. We walked to the living room. I gestured to the couch. He sat. I stayed standing. Before we start, I said, I need to tell you something. This conversation's being recorded. I pointed to the recorder on the table. I'm making this disclosure because California law requires it. Everything we say here is being documented. If you're not comfortable with that, you can leave. But if you stay, you're consenting to be recorded. Derek looked at the device, then at me. You're seriously recording your own son? I'm protecting myself, I said. After everything that's happened, I think that's reasonable. Do you consent? He laughed bitterly. Do I have a choice? Yes, you can leave. He stared at the recorder for a long moment. Then he leaned back on the couch. Fine, record. I don't care anymore. I sat down across from him. I'm glad you came, I said. Yeah, well, you said you wanted to fix this. I said I wanted to talk. I never said I'd fix anything. His expression changed. What? I gave them enough rope. They just needed to tie the knot themselves. Derek stood up. What the hell is this? Sit down, I said. Dad, if you brought me here to play games, sit down. Something in my voice made him stop. He sat. I want to know why, I said. Why what? Why the guardianship petition? Why you told a psychiatrist I had Alzheimer's? Why you transferred $75,000 of my money to the Cayman Islands? Why you signed a contract to sell my house for 19% below market value? Why you planned to lock me in a nursing home for $1,850 a month while you stole everything I've spent my life building? Derek's face went pale. I want to understand, Derek. What did I do that made you hate me this much? I don't hate you. Then why? He looked away. You don't understand. You don't know what it's like. Tell me. You and Mom, you had everything figured out. Good jobs, good money, nice house. You made it look easy, and I tried. I got the degree you wanted. I got the job, the wife, the kids. I did everything right. His voice was rising. But it's not enough. It's never enough. Do you know how much it costs to live in Silicon Valley? To raise 2 kids? To keep up with Vanessa's Instagram lifestyle? She has a brand. She has followers. She works hard. She posts pictures of vacations you can't afford and handbags you bought with credit cards you can't pay off. You don't get to judge our life. I'm not judging. I'm asking. Why steal from me? If you needed money, why didn't you just ask? He laughed. Ask? Ask you for money? And listen to lectures about responsibility and financial planning and how you paid your own way? No thanks. So instead you decided to take it. You're sitting on millions, Dad. You live alone in an $800,000 house. You don't need it. You're 68 years old. So I'm too old to deserve my own money? That's exactly what you said at the airport. I'm too old, too slow, too much of a burden. Derek's jaw clenched. The guardianship petition, I continued. When were you going to tell me about that? There was nothing to tell. It was a precaution. A precaution against what? Against you making stupid decisions. Against you giving money away to telemarketers or scam artists or spending it on a family trip instead of saving it for you? Silence. Dr. Harold Kemper, I said, friend of Vanessa's from college. He wrote a psychiatric evaluation diagnosing me with cognitive decline, based on an examination that never happened. That wasn't supposed to what? Get discovered? Wasn't supposed to matter because I'd be declared incompetent and unable to fight it? Dad, listen. No, you listen. The house. Pinnacle Equity Group. 720,000 for a house worth 890. Where was I supposed to go, Derek? He looked at the floor. Sunnyvale Care Facility, I said. You called them in December. Told them I had Alzheimer's. Asked about availability. $18.50 a month for a shared room. You'd have been comfortable there. I'd have been erased there. And you'd have been $800,000 richer. Well, 720, minus the debts. His head snapped up. What do you know about my debts? Everything. The credit cards, the crypto losses, the fact that you're drowning financially and you saw me as a life raft. Derek stood up. You know what? Fine. Yes, I needed the money. I need the money. We're about to lose our house. Vanessa's brand deals are drying up. I'm carrying 6 figures in debt at 29% interest. And you're sitting here in your paid-off house with your pension and your trust fund acting like you earned it all yourself. I did earn it. You got lucky. You worked for Boeing for 40 years and got lucky. I worked just as hard, and I have nothing to show for it. You have $178,000 of debt to show for it, and a wife who convinced you that stealing from your father was justified. Don't bring Vanessa into this. She's already in it. This was her idea, wasn't it? The guardianship, the offshore account. It was mutual. Was the visitation restriction order mutual too? Derek froze. You were going to prevent me from seeing Emma and Jake. California Family Code Section 3104. Legal restriction based on my emotional instability. It wasn't going to be permanent, just until things settled. Until I died, you mean? Until I was gone and you could tell my grandchildren whatever story you wanted about where I went. That's not fair. Fair? I stood up. You want to talk about fair? I paid $450,000 for a trip I wanted to take with my family, with my son, with my grandchildren. Because I'm lonely, Derek. Because your mother is dead, and I wake up every morning in this empty house and wonder if anyone remembers I exist. And you took that money and left me at the airport like I was garbage. We didn't leave you, but... Oh, yes, you did. And then you tried to steal everything else I have. My house, my savings, my dignity, my relationship with Emma and Jake. You weren't just trying to take my money. You were trying to take my life. Derek's hands were shaking. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? Fine, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you got hurt. I'm sorry the plan fell apart. I'm sorry you found out. You're sorry you got caught. Yes, okay? Yes, I'm sorry I got caught. Are you happy now? The recorder light blinked steadily. The Cayman account, I said. What did you spend the $75,000 on? Why does it matter? Because I want to know. What was worth stealing from your own father? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, crypto. We put it into cryptocurrency. We thought, Vanessa knows people who made millions. We thought if we could just get one big win, how much is left? About 6,000. You lost $69,000. Market timing is difficult. We could have... Get out of my house. Dad, wait. Get out. Now. He didn't move. I'll fight this, he said. I'll fight the trust suspension. I'll get a better lawyer. That money is mine. Mom left it to me. Your mother left it in trust with conditions. You violated every single one of them. Then I'll contest the will. Go ahead. You'll lose. You're being selfish. You're punishing me because your feelings got hurt. I'm protecting myself from a son who was willing to destroy me for money he didn't earn and couldn't manage. Derek walked to the door, turned back. You know what? You deserve to be alone. This is why Mom and I couldn't stand being around you. Everything is rules and consequences and cold, hard logic. You never just let things go. You never just forgive. I forgave you 1,000 times, Derek. Every missed call, every forgotten birthday, every time you asked about money before you asked how I was doing. I forgave all of it. I told myself you were busy, that you'd come around, that family mattered. I stepped closer. But you don't steal from family. You don't lie to doctors and judges to have your father declared incompetent. You don't plan to sell his house and lock him in a nursing home while you gamble away his life savings on cryptocurrency. I needed... You needed to be better than this, and you weren't. Vanessa's voice came from the doorway. I hadn't even heard her come in. This is ridiculous. She stepped into the room, arms crossed. Patrick, you're being dramatic. Derek made some mistakes, but you're acting like he tried to murder you. He tried to erase me legally. That's close enough. Oh, please. The guardianship was a precaution. You're 68, alone, clearly not thinking straight if you're willing to blow up your relationship with your only child over money. Over theft. It's not theft if it's family money. It's my money. Not family money. Mine. I earned it. I saved it. And I get to decide what happens to it. You're being selfish, Vanessa said. You're sitting on millions while your son is struggling. While your grandchildren are growing up watching their father work himself to death. You could help us. You could make all of this go away. But instead, you're choosing to be vindictive. I chose to spend $450,000 on a family trip. You chose to leave me at the airport. Because you would have ruined it. You're slow, you complain, you'd have needed help with everything. I paid for it. I paid for what? So what? That doesn't mean we owe you 3 weeks of babysitting. Derek put his hand on her arm. Vanessa, she shook him off. No, he needs to hear this. Patrick, you don't need $2.3 million. You don't need this big house. You don't need any of it. You're going to die in a few years anyway. The money should go to people who can actually use it. People who are building lives and raising kids and trying to make something of themselves. People like you. Yes, like us. We deserve that money more than you do. I looked at Derek. He wouldn't meet my eyes. We already spent $38,000 of the Cayman money on crypto, Vanessa continued. It's gone. Untouchable. You can't prove anything. And when we win the guardianship case, and we will win, we'll have access to everything. The house, the accounts, all of it. And there's nothing you can do to stop us. Actually, I said, there's a lot I can do. I let the recorder run for another 90 seconds. Then I stood up. At 3 o'clock that afternoon, Margaret walked into Superior Court of Santa Clara County with 4 items. 1. The complete audio recording of Derek and Vanessa's confession, legally obtained with proper disclosure. 2. An emergency motion to dismiss the guardianship petition based on fraudulent evidence. 3. An elder abuse restraining order petition under California Code 12657.03. 4. A formal revocation of Derek's designation as beneficiary of Helen's trust. By 5 p.m., Judge Patricia Moreno had granted all 4. The guardianship petition was dismissed with prejudice, meaning Derek could never file again. The restraining order prohibited Derek and Vanessa from coming within 100 yards of me or my property, and Derek was officially permanently removed from Helen's trust. $2.3 million. Gone. But I wasn't done. At Margaret's office the next morning, I signed 3 new documents. First, creation of the O'Donnell Family Foundation, a 501c3 charitable organization dedicated to Alzheimer's research and support. Initial funding, $2.3 million from Helen's trust. I would serve as president. Margaret would serve as executive director. All profits would go toward finding a cure for the disease that killed my wife. Second, the Emma and Jake O'Donnell Educational Trust, $500,000 held in irrevocable trust until each child turned 25. Terms: they must graduate from an accredited 4-year university. They must be financially independent from Derek and Vanessa for at least 2 years. They cannot access the funds if they're living in their parents' household or receiving material support. And if Derek or Vanessa attempted to manipulate, coerce, or otherwise interfere with the trust, the entire amount would immediately transfer to the Alzheimer's Foundation. Third, a new will. Everything I owned, the house, my pension, my remaining savings, would go to the O'Donnell Family Foundation upon my death. Derek would inherit nothing. Vanessa would inherit nothing, but Emma and Jake would have their trust, waiting for them when they were old enough to understand what their father had tried to do. The house, Margaret said. Are you sure that's your home? It's too big for one person anyway. When I'm gone, sell it. Use the money for research. Maybe help other families avoid what Helen and I went through. She made notes. The restraining order prevents Derek from contacting you, but it doesn't prevent Emma and Jake from calling. Have they tried? No. Then they don't know what happened. Or they've been told a version that makes me the villain. What do you want to do about that? I thought about it for a long time. Write them a letter. Not now, when they're 18. Put it with the trust documents. Tell them everything, the airport, the guardianship, the recording, all of it. Let them decide for themselves who their grandfather was. And if they hate you for it, then they hate me. But at least they'll know the truth. Lawrence Hartman's final report came 3 days later. Wells Fargo had successfully recalled $62,000 of the $75,000 from the Cayman account. The remaining $13,000 was lost to conversion fees and the fact that Derek had already moved it into cryptocurrency that was now worth about $800. Adult Protective Services completed their investigation and referred the case to the Santa Clara County District Attorney. The charges, elder financial abuse, fraud, identity theft, were being considered. Derek's attorney was negotiating a plea deal. Dr. Harold Kemper was under investigation by the California Medical Board for filing a fraudulent psychiatric evaluation. His license was suspended pending a hearing, and Pinnacle Equity Group, the real estate investment company that had offered to buy my house at below market value, was being investigated for predatory contracts targeting guardianship cases. Everything was falling apart for Derek. Everything was finally stable for me. On January 25th, I received a letter from Derek's attorney. It was an offer of settlement. Derek would drop any remaining legal claims against me and the trust in exchange for $50,000. I wrote one word on the letter. No. Sent it back. That evening, my doorbell rang. I looked through the window. Emma and Jake were standing on my porch. I opened the door. "Grandpa," Emma's voice was small. "Can we come in?" I looked past them. Vanessa was in the car at the curb, watching. "Are you supposed to be here?" "Mom said we could visit for 10 minutes. She said you probably wouldn't want to see us because of what Dad did." "What did she tell you he did?" Emma looked at Jake. He was crying quietly. "She said you got mad because we didn't want you on the trip. She said you punished Dad by taking away his inheritance. She said you don't love us anymore." I knelt down to their level. "I love you both very much. I will always love you. What happened between me and your father has nothing to do with you. Then why can't we see you?" "Because there's a court order that says your parents can't come near me, and you're minors. That makes it complicated." "Are you really mad at us?" Jake asked. "No, buddy, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at Emma. I'm sad that we can't spend time together right now. But that's not your fault." Emma pulled an envelope from her pocket. "I wrote you a letter. Mom doesn't know. Can I give it to you?" "Of course." She handed it to me. I put it in my pocket. "There's money set aside for both of you," I said. "When you're older. For college, for starting your lives. Your dad and mom can't touch it. It's yours. And there's a letter I wrote for you explaining everything that happened. You'll get it when you turn 18. Read it. Then decide for yourself who was right and who was wrong." "Grandpa," Emma said, "I don't care who was right. I just miss you." Vanessa honked the horn. "I have to go," Emma said. They walked back to the car. I watched them drive away. Then I opened the letter. "Dear Grandpa, I don't understand why grown-ups fight about money. Dad says you were mean to him. Mom says you're selfish. But I remember when Grandma died, you were the only one who didn't cry at the funeral. You just stood there holding her picture. And later I asked you why. And you said, 'Because I already cried all my tears at home. At the funeral, I need to be strong for everyone else.' I think you're still being strong. I don't know what Dad did, but I know you, and I know you wouldn't hurt us on purpose. I love you. I hope I can see you again soon." Emma, I folded the letter carefully, put it in the drawer next to Helen's wedding ring and the last birthday card she ever gave me, and I let myself cry. Because being strong doesn't mean never breaking. It just means choosing when to break in private. They weren't just stealing my money. They were erasing me from my grandchildren's lives. But Emma remembered, and someday that would matter. 6 months later, the O'Donnell Family Foundation held its first fundraising gala at a hotel in San Francisco. 200 people attended. We raised $412,000 for Alzheimer's research. Margaret gave a speech about Helen, about her brilliant mind, her infectious laugh, the way she could solve a New York Times crossword in under 20 minutes, until the day she couldn't remember what a crossword was. I didn't speak. I just stood in the back and watched people write checks in my wife's memory. Afterward, a woman approached me, late 50s, kind eyes. "Mr. O'Donnell, my name is Carol Harrison. My mother had Alzheimer's. We lost her 2 years ago." "I'm sorry. I read about your foundation in the Chronicle. The article mentioned what your son did. I'm sorry you went through that." "Thank you. My brother tried something similar with my mother," she said quietly. "Guardianship petition, fake medical reports, the whole thing. I stopped him, but barely. These cases are more common than people think." "I'm learning that." "The foundation, are you accepting volunteers?" "Always," she smiled. "Then count me in. Someone should have helped my mother. Maybe we can help someone else's." Over the next year, the foundation grew. We funded 3 research studies. We provided support groups for caregivers. We trained social workers to recognize signs of financial elder abuse. Derek never contacted me again. The plea deal went through. 5 years probation, restitution of $62,000, to be paid at $2,000 per month, mandatory financial counseling, no jail time. California courts are reluctant to incarcerate first-time white-collar offenders, especially when the victim declines to push for harsh sentencing. I didn't want him in jail. I wanted him to live with what he'd done. Emma and Jake sent me birthday cards, short notes, careful wording. I knew Vanessa was screening their mail, but they remembered. That was enough. The house feels less empty now. I started hosting monthly dinners for Foundation volunteers. Margaret comes over on Sundays. Lawrence stops by when he's in the neighborhood. I'm not alone anymore. And every morning I wake up in the house Helen and I built together, and I make coffee at the table where we used to plan our future, and I think about the trip we never got to take. I don't regret canceling the European tour. I regret that my son thought $75,000 in cryptocurrency was worth more than his father's dignity. But I don't regret fighting back. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been treated like a burden instead of a person, I want you to know something. You're not too old. You're not too slow. You're not asking for too much when you ask to be treated with basic human respect. And if someone tries to take that from you, whether it's your kids, your spouse, or anyone else, you have the right to protect yourself. Legally. Completely. Without apology. My name is Patrick O'Donnell. I'm 68 years old. I was married to the love of my life for 42 years. I raised a son who betrayed me, and I built a foundation that will outlive us both. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. And if my story helped even one person recognize the warning signs before it's too late, then maybe, just maybe, Helen would be proud of what I built from the ashes of what I lost. Thanks for listening. If you found this story meaningful, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Tell me in the comments where you're listening from. And remember, family is supposed to lift you up, not tear you down. The moment they start doing the latter, they stop being family. They become strangers who happen to know your name.